What is up, everybody? Professional wrestler Chris Wilde here with a live stream on Eagles News Now, and we are rallying to 1,000 subscribers. I'm just a little bit over or under 100 more to get there, and man, I can't thank the subscribers I have now enough. When I started this a couple years ago, I really wasn't sure if this was possible. You know, there's so many great content creators out there, especially ones that deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, and just to be where I'm at right now is pretty awesome. It really is. I appreciate all of them. I've got my two best supporters and my little girl Faith, who's watching me right now. How do I sound, Faith? And this is kind of like a test run here on StreamYard. Not something that I've advertised because I haven't exactly mastered StreamYard yet. I know I did a live stream a little while ago on StreamYard, and obviously, as everybody knows, with COVID-19 and life just got really complicated really fast. So with that being said, we're here right now, and obviously I usually broadcast from my home bar 4133, and I'm actually in the offices of 4133. Had to kick my daughter out of here a little bit earlier. So yeah, here we are, guys. And before I start absolutely running my mouth, I'm just going to wait a couple minutes. Maybe I'll copy this link and put it into a couple groups. Also, if you guys are watching this on the replay, a big part of getting subscribers is Facebook groups, and the groups that I'm a part of on Facebook are really awesome, man. There's one from the UK. There's one from Boston Eagles fans. I mean, there's so many, and I've always knew that there were a lot of Eagle fans, but I don't think I realized just how diverse it was until I started creating this content. So let's post that there. So a lot to talk about here today. Obviously, sports is back, sort of. And I wanted to get into, I've been hearing a lot, when the NFL did their virtual draft earlier in the year, I really thought to myself, man, they've really got a hold of this pandemic. Like they seem like they really know what they're doing. And I'm really confident in the season getting started. Again, the NFL has had the most time to deal with this. And baseball, it hit right during spring training. Basketball, it hit kind of at the end of their season. The same with hockey. So you figure the NFL has all this time to figure everything out. And then it comes out that the Players Association and the NFL could not get on the right page on safety precautions of all things, on opt-outs. And it was like, man, if this thing doesn't get cleared, we're not going to have a football season. And then that happened. That got cleared. Everything. What's up, Stephen Joyce? Thanks for joining. So then that gets settled, and it looks like we're ready. I mean, I was excited last week when baseball got back. Obviously, I'm a Philly fan. I like all the Philadelphia teams. I know some Eagle fans have different baseball teams or basketball teams, but I love all of them. And unfortunately, the Phillies are the same team they've been for the last 8 years. It seems like they played horrible against the Miami Marlins, and the Miami Marlins end up over half the team getting COVID-19. Really crazy. And the fact that they knew about it before they played Sunday is a little bit insane too. The commissioner of Major League Baseball might be the worst commissioner in the history of all sports. This Rob Manfred I've never seen a guy so tone deaf to what's going on like he is. So the Marlins, their games get postponed. The Phillies games get postponed. Luckily, the Phillies haven't had any positive results. So they will play the Yankees on Monday. But now the Cardinals had something today. More and more players from these teams are starting to contract this virus. And now it looks, I'm really getting worried about the NFL season, and I'd love to see what other people think, whether it's here live now or possibly, in the comments after the replay goes up. But so you got the MLB. Basketball, I got to give it to the NBA. Yes, I understand that it's a lot easier because these guys are basically, was it 4 games and then the playoffs? So their season is pretty much over. All they need is the playoffs. So it's easy to kind of keep them in that bubble, that NBA bubble that they have. Same with the NHL. They're pretty much on their way to the playoffs as well. And look, the presentation is really awesome, I think. Yes, it sucks not having fans there, but they've just done an absolutely amazing job. As I speak, the Philadelphia 76ers are playing. I'll give you guys a little score update on that here. And the reason why I'm not watching now is because in order to get on here, I didn't want to make it too late. So the Sixers are actually in the lead at the end of the third, 85-81 against the Indiana Pacers. So basketball is doing its thing. NHL is doing its thing. And now, again, we're getting into football. And one of the big things is players have until the 3rd of August to opt out of the 2020 season. Now, to me, before when I heard about these opt-outs, I thought, okay, this is a way for the players, obviously, to protect themselves. Guys that might have prior medical conditions, young families, families with medical conditions. I can absolutely understand opting out, but I thought about the money, and I'm like, man, these guys are young guys. They love their money. Let's be honest. They love their money. They love their cars, their houses, all of that stuff. And I'm thinking not many guys are going to opt out. Then you find out 7 Patriots have opted out, including Marquise Lee, wide receiver today. Look, that kind of blew me away. And I'm thinking, and I remember coming home from work. I work the night shift. It's horrible, but it's something that has to be done. I'm coming home and I'm like, man, before I went to bed, I'm like, I hope that none of the Eagles, that we don't have a guy that opts out selfishly, because I want to see him play or see everyone on the team play. Obviously, we've went a couple seasons with practice squad roster. I was excited about some of these new additions, and I wake up and it's like one of the guys that I was most excited on seeing, wide receiver Marquise Goodwin. I know he was injured last year. He's had struggles with injuries, but there was something that told me this guy was ready to go, and he had a chip on his shoulder. He was challenging Tyreek Hill into races. You name it. It just everything. That it factor. I talk a lot about that on this channel. The guys that have the it factor, like Doc. Like you just look at Doc. If you knew nothing about Brian Dawkins, nothing about football, and you see a picture of Brian Dawkins with the biceps and the pose that he does, and just the look of this guy, you're like, man, that's an athlete, and he's probably really, really good at what he does. That's the it factor. And Marquise Goodwin, it just seemed like he had it. And it comes to find out, he's opting out. So again, I can't blame him. He's had a very crazy history with miscarriages and things like that, to where I can understand, now he's got this little girl there and he sees her and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her or have any bad experiences. So that's absolutely respectable. And I'm just disappointed. I'm kind of bummed by it. So you're expecting, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? So there's got to be some good news coming. I mean, like I said, my team in baseball is now on the sideline. Marquise Goodwin, one of the players I was really excited about, he's not going to be on the team. Something positive has to happen. Well, I woke up the next day and a whammy again. I mean, I haven't been hit this hard since March, with the last time I wrestled. Lane Johnson tests positive for COVID-19. 2 other players are also Nate Gary, linebacker, and Jordan Mailata, who honestly I forgot was even on the team still. They also rather tested positive or around someone that was positive. The only reason why we know Lane Johnson tested positive is because he told us. The other guys didn't tell us anything. So, and they don't have to. But Lane Johnson is one of the most important guys on this team. I mean, you just look at the record that the Eagles have, or at least Carson Wentz has, with and without Lane Johnson. It's definitely telling. So, he comes out with a statement saying he feels good. He trusts the protocols and he's ready to go. So it gives you a little bit of positivity there. But at the same time, now in the back of my head, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. The guys all around the league, like I said, 7 Patriots. The New York Giants had Nate Solder, their best tackle, opt out. Steven. So I'm a professional wrestler and independent. I wrestle. I'm not contracted. So basically what that means is I'm an independent contractor. So let me find the easiest way to explain this. So there are a bunch of, so you got WWE, which is the big company. You got AEW and Impact Wrestling. Those are all the companies with the TV contract. So when you wrestle for them, you sign a contract. You're not going to be able to wrestle for anybody else. As an independent contractor, there are a bunch of smaller companies that don't have TV contracts. Like, like if your city has a state fair, or your state has a state fair, you go to it, they might have a wrestling show there. You might see a guy like me wrestling. So basically and those shows are to hone my craft and hopefully get a contract to wrestle for one of these TV companies. Now, look, I'm 5'6", so it's a little bit harder for me to get a contract. I've got to be on my A game than somebody that might be 6'2", 6'3", and look like Hulk Hogan. But I have done some stuff with WWE. I've been thrown around by Braun Strowman. I got slammed by Ronda Rousey a couple of, well, it was maybe like a year ago now. So I've done stuff like that. I've got a pretty good relationship with them. And, I just, it's always been awesome. I love watching wrestling too. It's really hard now. It's really hard right now because of the empty arenas. And, we talk about football, right? And you're thinking about football without fans. Wrestling without fans is it's so much harder because these guys, like, we feed off the crowd. We feed off of emotion, whether somebody's booing or cheering. That could end up I think about, and I don't know if you're familiar of the Rock and Hogan match from years ago at WrestleMania 18. Hulk Hogan came in back from WCW with the NWO as a bad guy, and The Rock was the good guy. Well, they get to the show and the fans decide they really miss Hulk Hogan and they're not going to boo him. So the guys had to kind of switch stuff around, and that kind of made that match even more legendary to now you don't have fans. What if can you imagine watching those two without fans right now? It's just it's really crazy, and I can't wait till it gets back because it's a part of my life, and it's been a part of my life for I've been doing it for over a decade. And, I was really starting to get going, and, then COVID-19 happens and just kind of really ruined a lot of things for a lot of people. And Steven, I'm sure there's stuff in your life that it probably messed up too. It's crazy. Last year, if you would have told me that, I'd be wearing a mask everywhere I went, that places would be shut down, and that there'd be no fans at any sporting event, I'd say that you were on some pretty good drugs probably. But, you can only hope that it'll eventually get better. Now, I don't, one thing I really don't want to talk about here is politics, but there are a lot of people that say at the end of the election, COVID-19 will start to disappear. I don't know about that. I know a lot of people who have gotten this, and it's definitely real and it's definitely scary. And, right now we just got to do, what everybody's telling us to do. So, with that being said, Carson Wentz came out and said that because I was really worried that was the guy. I'm thinking if there's going to be a guy that is going to opt out, it's going to be Carson Wentz. He just had a baby girl, and he came out and said he wasn't going to opt out. So I guess you could talk about being positive. That was one of the positive things there. Live in northern Minnesota with 7 kids and are from Philadelphia, man. Also, I'll tell you what, I respect you a lot. I've got 2. I've got a 9 and 10-year-old, and they're absolutely awesome. But I mean, taking care of 2 kids, I could not have imagined 7. That's pretty cool, man. That's really cool. So are you an Eagle fan, or are you? I guess since you're from Philly, you'd be a Philadelphia Eagle fan, and you're here on Eagles News Now, right? So I guess the guys in Minnesota must have been going crazy in 2017 when the Eagles beat them and got to the Super Bowl. I mean, you think about that. That's not talked about enough. The Minnesota Vikings were 1 game away for being the only team in the history of the Super Bowl to play the Super Bowl in their home stadium. That is huge, absolutely huge. And the Eagles ruined that for them. And the league was so, I don't know if you remember this, the league was so confident that the Vikings were going to win that I think a vendor accidentally released some promotional material that had Tom Brady and Case Keenum facing off. And Doug Peterson ended up showing that at one of the press conferences to kind of piss the guys off. I think in his book, he says, I hope this pisses you off as much as it pisses me off. And again, think about, we talk about no fans. You think about that game in Philly against the Vikings, NFC Championship game. The crowd, without a doubt, influenced the outcome of that game. Now, I know the Eagles destroyed them. It was 38-7. But that place was like nothing I've ever seen before. Nothing. So I'm digging the StreamYard. I really am. And again, I haven't really dealt with this that much. One of the big things for me about getting 1,000 subscribers, and I know it's not. See, to me, it's a big deal. I know guys like EDP has 2.5 million subscribers, and there are a lot of other content creators have like thousands and thousands. But I have a little goal board, and this is my goal to hit 1,000 and be able to go live anywhere I want it without having to deal with another piece of software or app other than YouTube, and that was important. I hate the Vikings. You get shit for liking being from Philadelphia. Oh man, you know what? And maybe this is what makes us different as Eagle fans, Steven. I think that's cool as shit. Like, I would love to be there and wearing my Eagle stuff. I mean, because even though the past 2 years they've beaten us in regular season games, there's nothing. Until they beat us in a playoff game or something as important. Like I said, that game that we played them in was so important. I mean, could you imagine what that Super Bowl would have been like? Probably. I mean, and I understand a lot of people that go to the games are got tickets from companies or rich or whatever. But man, that would have been something to see the Vikings in their home stadium during the Super Bowl, and they came in so hot too. They off of that the Miracle. Or is it in Minneapolis Miracle when Stephon Diggs caught that ball or that DB completely whiffed on that tackle, and the rest is history. But you know what? And it brings me to thinking about our wide receiver core here in Philadelphia. It's something on my list that I wanted to talk about, so why not talk about it now? The Eagles, obviously we talk about Marquise Goodwin opting out. So what do we have left? Alshon Jeffrey on the PUP list. Now, he can come off whenever, I believe, training camp wise. And this isn't something that wasn't a surprise either, him being on the PUP list. So you've got him, Deshaun Jackson coming off an injury, which I know Deshaun had some drama a couple weeks ago. Again, I'm trying to positive vibes here right now, but he had some drama a couple weeks ago, probably a month ago now. But I still stand by what I said earlier. I think that this guy is going to have a comeback season. I just do. All the stuff he's gone through, the injury, knowing that, he's dancing on the doorstep of retirement, everything combined, this is a guy that in Deshaun Jackson that hates being doubted. And I could, his whole football career, he's been called the little guy, right? That gets to him. The way he left Philadelphia gets to him. It gets to me too. I just think he's going to have a hell of a season. And I think he's going to stay healthy. I really do. I think he's going to stay healthy. And I kind of feel stupid for saying that because if you look at my video, I did a video last year before the season where I was so hype about these Eagle wide receivers. Alshon. Nelly's going to have a good year because, he just had a down year in 18. He's going to be 2017 Nelson Aguilar again. Deshaun, I mean, Zach Ertz, and now we got this stud wide receiver in the second round called J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He's like the next Alshon. I was so excited, right? And then we saw what happened. Injury after injury, and Greg Ward Jr. ends up becoming our best wide receiver. Who would have thought that? But I am excited about this wide receiver core, even with Marquise Goodwin out of it. Even with him out of it. We drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round. Again, if you go back into the archives of my videos, I wasn't very happy with the pick at first. And I actually did a pre-draft video about two guys that the Eagles should not pick in the first round because I didn't feel like they were first-round picks. One of them was Brandon Ayuk, who ended up going to the San Francisco 49ers a couple picks after Jalen Reagor. I just, looking at some tape and reading through some draft stuff, I kind of looked at him and was like, man, I mean, he's fast, he's electric, but is he first-round receiver? And I didn't see it at first. I'm not going to lie. I just did not see it. And again, I really didn't look into him that much because I was really excited about two players in particular. I mean, look, you had CeeDee Lamb, you have Henry Ruggs, those guys. I didn't think the Eagles had a shot at getting them, even though they could have gotten CeeDee Lamb, but that's another story for another day. But I really like Justin Jefferson and Denzel Mims. Justin Jefferson from LSU, Denzel Mims from Baylor. I really liked both of them, and I figured that I didn't think the Eagles were going to have a shot at them either. So it was really a question on what they were going to do, what position they were going to get. So ends up falling. I get pissed off because they don't get CeeDee Lamb, as every Eagle fan did. Then it's their turn. Justin Jefferson is still on the board. I'm like, oh, I'm so hyped. I think I still have the video up. I'm just like, yes, they're going to get this guy. They're going to get this guy. And they say Jalen Reagor. And it was like standing in line for 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. 3 hours to get on this roller coaster, right? And you're the next person in line and they shut the ride down. That's how I felt. Absolutely distraught. And afterwards, after the draft, I looked at more Jalen Reagor stuff and I said, man, this kid is actually exactly what the Eagles need, what this offense needs. And I started to hear word. This is why with the Minnesota Vikings, this is why I bring up the wide receivers. I started to hear things that the Minnesota Vikings actually wanted Jalen Reagor. If the Eagles didn't pick Jalen Reagor, the Vikings were going to pick him and be happy about it because they needed somebody to fill in that slot that Stephon Diggs, because he went to Buffalo. So Jalen Reagor would fit that. They're almost the same player. Jalen Reagor would fit that spot perfectly to where Justin Jefferson, who the Vikings ended up picking. Oh, shit. My camera didn't like that. All right, we're back. Anyway, guys, hopefully it's not that's not an omen, I'm talking about Jalen Reagor here. So anyway, Justin Jefferson plays the exact same as the other wide receiver on that team, and I can't think of it now because that kind of pissed me off a little bit with the camera. However, I think the Eagles are in good shape with Jalen Reagor. I really do. And I'll tell you what else. I'm really excited about these other rookie wide receivers that they got. Let me put it to you this way. I've seen a lot of people and a lot of the groups that I'm in on Facebook. And there's two types of fans. They're fans that are excited about John Hightower and Kez Watkins, or they're fans that go, these guys were picked in the fifth and sixth or seventh round. Like, the percentage of wide receivers that are good after that are slim to none in this league. And I say to them, this wide receiver draft was so stacked. It was so stacked that these guys would be. You got a guy like John Hightower that's in the fifth round. He's probably a third or second round wide receiver in any other draft. And I'm really excited about those guys to the point where this is before Marquise Goodwin ended up leaving or opting out. It was to the point where I didn't know who was going to be the odd man out because I watched a lot of Kez Watkins, and let me tell you something, brother. Kez Watkins, this guy is not just a. I looked at him like, okay, it's a little fast receiver. Okay, we've seen them, right? We've seen Shelton Gibson before. We've seen who's the other one? Uh, Dregs. We've seen these guys. Um, but you watch Kez Watkins, you watch his highlights, you watch, and you know what? Don't even mess with the highlights. Just watch a whole game. And this kid, what he was catching in the red zone, I was completely impressed with because there weren't just deep routes. This guy was very, very reliable in the red zone for his size. Again, I was really impressed. I did a video about him months ago. And then John Hightower, I mean, a fast, lengthy guy as well. I mean, this is a dude, and these guys, they can play punt, they can be punt returners too. That was one of the things that really killed me last year was we had no punt returners. Greg Ward Jr., every time he got the ball, and I went to 3 games last year, and every time Greg Ward got the ball, it was a fair catch. I mean, there was just no movement there. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about these wide receivers, and I mean, you're probably going to start the year worst case scenario: Deshaun Jackson, um, Jalen Rager, and Greg Ward. I know that does not sound appetizing right now, guys. I know it doesn't, but I really think that by the end of the year, these guys are going to flash. The John Hightowers, the Kez Watkins, and again, Alshon. When Alshon comes back. A lot of people didn't think he was going to play here this year. He'd be traded already. I'm going to be optimistic and say Alshon has a little bit left in the tank as well. You know, and he can do a lot this year in dispelling these rumors about him and Carson, which true or not, I don't think that he likes to be portrayed that way. You can just tell that he doesn't. So those are the wide receivers that we have to talk about. If anybody that's watching has seen pictures from training camp, it's really odd to see everybody working out with their masks on. I'll tell you what, I tried it the other day just out of curiosity. The gym I go to, you have to wear your mask into the gym. But when you get on the equipment, of course, you can pull it down or take it off so you can breathe. You're not breathing in CO2. And I tried working out with the mask completely on, and it's tough. I mean, I couldn't imagine. These guys are in the heat. So we talk about these wide receivers. We talked about COVID, if there'll be an NFL season. I personally think there will be. I just don't think it might not look how you think it's going to look. Look, let's be honest here. If they have enough players to cover a season, there was an entire league, another league called the XFL with players. So you might see a lot of guys that you never heard of before playing football, but I definitely think there's going to be a football season unless something insane happens, unless something absolutely crazy happens. I have heard that there are reports that the NFL is thinking about doing a bubble system. Like the NBA is doing, or something similar. It's so hard for the NFL to do that. I think because there's so many players, and not only are there so many players, but the personnel. So like the NBA, you got your coaches, you got your assistant coaches, you got your trainer, maybe a couple trainers. But the NFL, I mean, you've got a shitload of just personal trainers, assistant coaches. I mean, it just would be so tough to keep all those people in the same place. That's what they might have to do. Stephen Joyce, what do you think of Sasha and Bailey? I think that they are one of the best things on TV right now. I'll be honest with you. And I know my tag team partner, Zach Connor, would slap me for saying that. But I really think that Bailey has done a great job of, she was such a baby face character when she came in with the hugs and the inflatable people. And she's done a really great job, again, with no crowd to react to her, of just becoming this awesome bad guy that you want to boo. And Sasha is Sasha. Sasha, I've always thought is awesome. I think when she was in NXT, that boss character of hers kind of, there was more layers to it. So hopefully she can incorporate that into what she's got moving forward. And I feel like the company is kind of the plans that they might have had before COVID for Sasha and Bailey. Um, they might not want to do yet because they want fans to react to it. Like I feel like these two are eventually going to clash. Um, but I love the fact that they're the tag champs and they're both the SmackDown Women's Champ and Raw Women's Champion. I mean, I liked it when Austin and Triple H did it back in the day. I just think it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my thoughts on them. No complaints from me on Sasha and Bailey. And they're both sweethearts too. Don't tell them I told you that. But um, but yeah, back to the COVID thing and the bubble for the NFL. It's going to be hard to do, but it might be something. It might be the only thing that can save it. And when I say bubble, I don't mean they're going to blow up a big bubble and it's going to be like Bubble Boy. People are going to go in, they're not going to be able to get out. I mean, like a couple facilities, and these people aren't allowed to leave. It's hard to tell human beings, millionaires or not, that they can't see their family for 20 weeks. It's hard. I mean, you got soldiers that go out and do it for way less. But it's just hard to tell guys, especially guys that aren't used to doing that. That these guys are used to a certain, especially look at a guy like Jason Peters, who's 38 years old and has been in the league 13, 14 years. Now all of a sudden his complete regimen changes. He can't go home. I mean, it will affect a lot of people. And selfishly, I hope they figure this out, guys. I really do. And people sometimes look at me and go, bro, it's just a game. It's just a game. It's a game you can go out and play with your kids. You can go on YouTube. You can search old Eagle games. You can watch the Super Bowl again for the 153rd time, probably more than that. It's just a game. It'll eventually be back. We're talking about lives on the line. We're talking about a serious virus, a pandemic. See, football to me is, and to a lot, not just myself, but I'm talking personally, to me, it's a coping mechanism. It really is. Not just wrestling, but I have another job that takes care of the bills. Again, I have two mouths to feed. I have this other job that takes care of the bills. It's very stressful. And there's, Sundays when football's on, there's nothing like it. All that stress goes away. New stress comes in. It's Eagle stress, but it's good stress. But all that stuff goes away. And, now to tell me that, like, I'm not going to have that I'm going to have to wait another year, or who knows when. It's a tough pill to swallow. It really is. Again, and I think football is such a part of American culture that if for someone to say, look, it's just a game, I think that's kind of insensitive. At the end of the day, it is a game, but it's for some people such a big part of their life. And that's football for me. I mean, look, it's done a lot of things for me personally. Me and my father, because of that 2017 season, became from father and son to best friends. Watching every game, hugging him and crying when they won. Like these are moments that if football wasn't around, where would these moments come from? And I think it's a lot. I think that a lot of people can relate to that. There are guys that get buried in their Eagles gear, and it's not because to be corny. It's because that is such a big part of that person's life. So hopefully we can get it together. And I'll be honest, I'm shocked that I thought this was going to be gone. This virus, I really did. I mean, you can. My buddy Zach, I was in Boston the end of February, and I was like, SummerSlam is supposed to be in Boston, and I kept telling my boy Zach, I said, look, WrestleMania is going to be indoor, or is going to be at the Performance Center, but SummerSlam will be the WrestleMania, and You couldn't tell me that this wasn't going to be gone by now, but it's not, and it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. But again, it's something that, especially Americans, we find a way to evolve through stuff pretty quickly, and people can say what they want to about this country, but one thing that we're really good at is overcoming. We've always done that. So I'm hoping. I think baseball. I'm not sure if baseball is going to survive this year. The NBA, absolutely. The NHL, absolutely. And I'm hoping for my own headspace that the Eagles survive it as well. And another thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to the Eagles, and again, this is kind of just like a little test run, a little test broadcast here. Might do one tomorrow too. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to do a separate video probably later this week or the beginning of this week about this. And I kind of didn't want to because I don't think it's worth the time, but it's become a topic and become an issue. This NFL top 100 players list. Let's get into this. I don't know how many of you have seen it. I know you've all heard of it. It is the most ludicrous thing. However, that's how it was supposed to be. This top 100 players list. For those of you that don't know, all the players get together and they get asked to rank guys, and it's basically their personal opinion. And I'll get back to that because I want to answer King James III's question. Who's your most underrated wide receiver this year for Carson? So, and this is going to sound funny. But you want to talk about like underrated. I think people are not understanding the importance that Alshon Jeffrey can have for Carson Wentz. Every time I've been hearing people talk about the wide receivers, I hardly ever hear Alshon's name come up. Hardly ever. And I think that's a mistake. Yes, he's on the PUP list. He will eventually get off this list. And I think this guy's got some gas left in the tank. I really do. And he's an important part of this team because he makes the rest of the wide receivers better. If you're talking about new guys that are underrated, Kez Watkins, without a doubt. Just look at this guy's tape. I talked about it earlier. He is not only quick, but he's not afraid to catch in the red zone. I was really suppressed at what I saw. And you know what? The thing is, all these guys with all these wide receivers have, which besides JJ Arcega-Whiteside, because looking back, I talk about the it factor. JJ didn't have it. Is he going to have it this year? I don't know, but I look at him and he doesn't pass the eye test for me. Like Jalen Reagor. I just look at this guy. I mean, he's had to go through everybody talking about how he wasn't good enough to be picked where he was, to Skip Bayless, who loves to just pick at us for whatever reason, talk about how he wasn't good. And this dude, he's just got this chip on his shoulder. And you know what I mean? If you follow him on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you can tell he's got that edge. He's got that it factor. Greg Ward Jr. is also an underrated wide receiver. I know guys were talking about this before Marquise Goodwin opted out about Greg Ward getting cut. I think he did a hell of a job for us last year. Now, obviously, there's going to be tape on him this year. It's going to be a little bit different, but he did a great job. But if you're holding gun to my head, I had to pick one person, Alshon Jeffrey. He's underrated. He had one of the best catches I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. I know that was 2 years ago. And I know he also let a ball go through his hands that got intercepted by the Saints in 2018. But if he comes back and is Alshon Jeffrey again, forget about it. Donnie Beck says season's coming to a close. I hope not, but it could happen. It absolutely can happen. It really depends. Baseball has got to be really careful because they might ruin it for everybody. Cash Face, Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett are both better than JJ. You know what? They were definitely better than him last year. That's for sure. I thought Robert Davis was going to have a bigger effect than he did because, I was, again, watching when the Eagles picked him up. I was watching stuff from him, highlights and whatnot. And I was like, man, this guy could end up, if he picks up this offense a little bit, this guy could become reliable for Carson. And Deontay Burnett, I thought he had a couple clutch catches at the end there. So, but again, you talk about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. What happened there? What happened? I mean, again, you look at, and this is why you can't go by highlights, I guess, right? But you look at this, you look at his stuff, you look at his stats. He should have, when he dropped that ball against the Lions, it was week 3, game winner. And Carson couldn't have put it better. And this is a guy that was supposed to be known for making those kind of catches, right? And he dropped that, and I just knew. I knew then this guy is not going to do anything for us the entire season. We talk about Carson Wentz, man. We talk about, and a lot of people give him a bad rep, and I understand he hasn't completely finished the whole season. But what he did last year with those receivers, to have 4,000 yards passing with those guys, I don't know how he did it. Do you think one of the two have a shot at making the roster? Man, Cash, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't. I don't, because here's what I'm thinking. I'm adding Alshon into this, even though he's in the pup. I'm adding him. So you got Alshon, you got Deshaun, you got Greg Ward, Jalen Reagor. They're not going to give up on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside unless he completely has a meltdown in camp. They just don't give up on second-round picks that quick. So that's 5. And now, again, it's Kez Watkins or John Hightower, or do they carry 7? Because one's probably going to return punts. I just don't think, again, and look, injuries or where Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett make out this year is because of this pandemic. If 1 or 2 of these wide receivers get this thing, these are going to be the first guys that they call. So I definitely believe that Davis and Deontay Burnett will be on somebody's team at some point this year. But right off the bat, do they have a shot at making the roster again? I just don't think so. I don't. And I like both of them. I appreciate guys that, they came in last year and had no business making some of the catches they made. Deontay Burnett made a hell of a catch. They're both young guys too. They're both really young guys too. I think Robert Davis caught I can't think of the Washington quarterback's name, but he caught his first touchdown of the preseason. King James says Alshon is allegedly smaller and faster this season. He's coming to redemption in Saints game. He cried when the pass went through his hands. Yeah, I cried when the pass went through his hands, King James. I cried. For real. Actually, funny story with that real quick. They were driving. The 2-minute warning was about to come up. I ran to the bathroom because I thought they were just going to let it go to the 2-minute warning. And as I was coming out, it was intercepted. I saw pictures of him working out. He looks smaller. He looks a little bit more toned muscle-wise. And again, this is a guy, and I'm saying this, these football players, a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, who's had a very successful career, you don't just turn into a player that gives it all up. You just don't. And again, he doesn't have, who knows how many more seasons he has left in him. If you think that he wants to go out on the note that he went out, you're crazy. Again, this is a guy that, just go back and watch that catch from the Super Bowl. Just watch it. It was amazing. It was so good. I did a stadium tour earlier in the year, and in the Eagle offices, they got a big ass picture of him making that catch. I believe he does. He will have a redemption season this year. You got to be optimistic and think so. You absolutely do. But yeah, Carson, man. Oh my God. I went to the Cowboys game at home last year. I went to the Seahawks game and the Giants game at home. That was in the rain. And it was just, again, like Carson, man, like, I don't understand why he gets he didn't make this top 100 list. But guys like Ryan Tannehill and guys like Josh Allen, who is one of the guy can move. Josh Allen can move, but he's one of the most unmobile not unmobile. I just contradicted myself. He's one of those inaccurate quarterbacks I've ever seen. If Carson misses a guy by 3 feet, Josh Allen is going to miss this guy by 20 yards in the air. I've never seen anything like it. For him to make it over Carson, and again, it's football players, it's their opinions, and it's also the NFL and the NFL Network wanting us to do what I'm doing right now, and that's talking. And that's why, and again, you can tell, that this list is a farce, not just because Carson didn't make it, not just because Lane Johnson didn't make it, not just because all the rest of the Eagles guys like Jason Kelsey were low as hell. But Lamar Jackson, number one, the top player in the league, number one. How you put him up there over a guy that did what Pat Mahomes did last year and has been doing since he got that starting job. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And Mahomes was number 4 in that list. It wasn't even like he was number 2. He was number 4. So, it's crazy to me. It's nuts. And I wasn't even going to talk about the 100 list because it's just so, again, it's a publicity stunt to get people to talk. And it did its job. And they come after us Eagle fans hard. They do. They always post stuff about Carson. They always do because they know we'll get the fire. If they light the spark, we're going to turn that fire into an inferno. We always do. We always do. We're at the 47-minute mark, guys. This has been fun. I definitely appreciate all you guys. Coming on here and talking to me again. This wasn't something that was advertised at all. I kind of got that itch. And you know what? I'm probably going to do another 10 minutes. So, okay. We got Carlos, man. What's going on? Yeah, it is a joke. It's a joke. And again, it's what they want from us. King James, Carson wasn't on top 100 because of popularity. He slept on him after Clowney took him out. That's exactly right, man. I agree with that comment 100%. Didn't count drop passes. They never do. And the practice squad thing. So here's what the guys that hate Carson Wentz, I call them the yeah buts, because anytime you say something good about him, they go, yeah, but. So you talk about Carson having 4,000 yards receiving or 4,000 yards throwing the ball with a wide receiver that didn't have 500 yards passing. And they go, yeah, but what about his fumbles? Okay. Yes. Did he have a fumbling problem last year? Absolutely he did. Is it something he needs to fix? Yeah. But you look what he did. And look, I'm yeah butting. That the fumbles, dude. Look, what he did to get us to the playoffs, I'll take them fumbles every day, but that's something that he can fix. It's definitely something he can fix. Or they say, you go, look what he did with these guys. Look what he did with these practice squad players. And they go, yeah, but he played sorry teams. He played the Giants. He played the Redskins. He played the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, I don't mean Redskins. I mean Washington football team. Man, we could have gotten to that for an hour. It's you get all these excuses from these people. And look, yes, were the teams that he played pretty damn bad? Okay. Yeah. However, every one of those teams played the Eagles hard because they were trying to ruin. First off, it was a divisional game. Divisional games are always played hard. They wanted to ruin the Eagles' shots at making the playoffs. And what people don't ever talk about, and it annoys the hell out of me, the game against Dallas, which was pretty much for the division, at home. Does anyone remember what Dallas did the week before? Because I sure do. They destroyed, and I mean decimated, the at the time NFC champion St. Louis Rams. Killed them. They came into us against practice squad players, and we took them out. And the next week, they destroyed the football team from Washington. So it is what it is with that. I could go on all day. See what Joyce says. You think we'll get Clowney? 3 weeks ago, I would have said yes. They adjusted the salary cap for next year. I don't know. It depends. I mean, I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have. They definitely need him, I think, because their edge rushers, again, this pandemic changes things, because at any time these guys could, and again, I mean, it's every year, anybody could get injured, but you got Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, who I do like, I think has a great upside. And you got Brandon Graham. And after that, it's just a bunch of maybes. If you get Jadeveon Clowney, as much as I think he's a dirty player and I don't like him personally, I cannot ignore the fact that he is a freak of an athlete. And if you get him rotating in and out with those guys, man, the line would be the best in the league. It would be the absolute best in the league. It really would. And there's another guy who I think they could get cheaper than Clowney that would be maybe not as good, but would make this line the best in the league, and that's Everson Griffin. Everson Griffin, and you being in Minnesota, you probably heard of him a bunch. What the guy have 8 sacks, 9 sacks last year? Getting a little bit long in the tooth. However, it reminds me of the situation with Chris Long. And look at how important Chris Long was to that Super Bowl year. It was so important. So, yeah, I mean, do I think they'll get Clowney? I would say no. Everson Griffin, I think, is is a choice that I think that they can get without having to spend as much as they would to get Clowney. But apparently Clowney's turning everybody down right now. He wants a big payday, and I think he hired Rosenhaus, right? T.O.'s old agent, who does not have, I don't believe, I could be wrong, guys, a good relationship with the Eagles. But they're going to wait for somebody to get hurt in camp, or somebody to test positive, or somebody to opt out, and they're going to Clowney will jump on that. Absolutely jump on that. But it seems like, with every free agent or every guy that wants to be traded, the Eagles are always in the conversation. The guy that I really wanted, and everybody did, but the price tag would be insane right now, is Yannick Ngakoue from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I saw Jamal Adams. They gave up 2 firsts, and a player and a third. I mean, Yannick Ngakoue is so much better of a player. I believe, in my opinion, the Jamal Adams, you're going to have to sell the entire farm to get this guy in there. But the Eagles, I mean, it's a guy that you could, him and Fletch on that line for a couple more years together, they could wreak havoc. It really could. I'm going to check on the Sixers game, guys, and see. Let's see where we're at with that. Oh, my gosh. Of course, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Philadelphia 76ers 127-121. Wow. Well, man, it's that's disappointing. That's definitely disappointing. So I'm sure talk radio will be interesting tomorrow. And I'll definitely check out the highlights of that game. Coming up. Shit. Damn it. King James, do you think fans are putting too much stock in the season's draft, similar to last draft? Okay. So this is a loaded question because I have a couple of answers for it. I think we always, at least me, I always put too much stock in the draft because it's one of the most exciting times to me. Before draft day gets here, I love to, and again, you check back on my videos for a couple of years. I love to look at these guys and research these guys. Absolutely love to. Who are they going to get? Where are they going to get? Who fits? Who doesn't fit? And every year, I'm usually excited about the Eagles draft. Last year, like I said, with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I mean, I go back to my reaction video. I was pretty happy about that. Definitely happy about Miles Sanders. And then some of the other guys, I'm like, this guy could be a diamond in the rough, blah, blah, blah. So by me saying that, I don't want to take away my reaction right now. I am ecstatic about some of these Eagles draft picks this year. I absolutely think they got it right, with one exception, and you already know what that exception is. So Jalen Hurts being picked at 53, while the Eagles can definitely benefit from that, gosh forbid, and I'm going to knock on this wood, something happens to Carson, whether it be COVID or whether it be injury, you've got a guy that with some ability, and some of the coaches on this new coaching staff too are pretty awesome. And Doug is a quarterback guy. You can really have some great stuff come out of Jalen Hurts. However, at pick 53, I think they could have got him in the third round, maybe fourth, maybe not fourth, third. In the second round, you got to get a guy. And then Denzel Mims was sitting there, and I really wanted him. He's turned out to be a punk, so I'm kind of glad they didn't go that way. But man, that's the only spot I loved. I think I really loved the wide receivers that talked about Hightower and Kes Watkins. I think these guys are going to be good. Reagor looks like he's going to be really good. And then the guy that really excites me out of this draft, I think, is going to be this diamond in the rough. He just fits here. Absolutely fits here. Number 42 from Clemson, Kavon Wallace, safety. This dude, again, jumps off the screen at you. You see him, football player. Was roommates with Brian Dawkins' son. Knows Dawkins personally. Dawkins gave him the rub coming in. It absolutely just fits. It fits. And again, his game tape, it steps up too. I think he's going to be awesome. A guy that the offensive lineman they got late, Prince, don't want to disrespect him by pronouncing his name wrong. He was supposed to go in like the third round, but people were worried about his leg. If this guy stays healthy, 100% steal there. A lot of people were talking about him. Jack Driscoll, who knows what he's going to end up being. He looks like he's already 38 years old. But I saw his press conference today. And then a guy who I'm actually going to do a video about tomorrow. Check me out. Come back. Not tomorrow, Monday. Davion Taylor, linebacker that the Eagles have. He shows a shitload of upside. They got him in the third round. One of the things against him, obviously, is his size. The Eagles love these speed linebackers. We don't really have a big-ass linebacker anymore now that Nigel Bradham went to New Orleans. But Davion Taylor, I guess he didn't play high school because of his religion. He had to do, again, I don't know the facts about his religion, so I don't want to disrespect it, but something that had to do with the religion, he couldn't play on Friday nights. And then I think he only had a couple years of college. But, man, you just look at his tape. He looks really good. I think they really wanted Easton, but Dallas was going to draft Hurts, so they took him. I thought about that. I really did. I thought about Dallas wanting Hurts. And Dak, you talk, this isn't a Cowboys page or channel, but Dak Prescott, he should have took the money they were going to give him. He really should have. You have a team full of talent. He does. Ezekiel Elliott, great offensive line. Amari Cooper, Claiborne, the wide receiver they got a couple years ago. Talented offense, and you get beat by practice squad players. Biggest game in Philadelphia, you don't show up, and they say his shoulder was hurt, but the next week he looked like Joe Montana. Dak Prescott next year is not going to be with the Dallas Cowboys. You heard it here first. He's not. So, yeah, they probably would have took Hurts. They probably would have traded up to get Jalen Hurts. You're absolutely right. And look, between you and me, between you and the couple people that are watching, I think the Eagles are going to be okay with Jalen Hurts because nobody knows what's going to happen with college football. Nobody knows there's going to be a college football season. The Eagles have a top quarterback. Jalen Hurts will be one of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. They can turn, if there's no college football, they can trade this guy for top pick. And again, what a pick's mean right now, but I think they're going to be okay. Stephen Joyce, you think Killins will make it at running back? Boy, I really hope so. I got a friend of mine who absolutely, his name's Adam Payton, uh, was actually a professional basketball player, played in Europe. I think he tried out, worked out with the Sixers a couple times. But he told me about this dude, and again, I have a video where I'm looking at his highlights, and this guy is extremely fast. Now, look, I have nightmares still of Donnell Pumphrey. I think we all do. And when they took him in that stacked running back draft, I feel like this guy's different. He just has that different look. Again, I hate to say it so much because it becomes, I don't want to make it like I'm trying to make it my word or anything, my phrase, but X Factor. He's got it. But again, who do you so let's look at the running backs. Why not? Let's look at the running backs. Should have re-signed Jordan Howard, in my opinion. I love the guy. Maybe the injury was something that we don't know about, which is why they didn't re-sign him. I thought he would have been great with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, who gave a shout out to the channel. Really cool of him to do. Anyhow, Corey Clement was a Super Bowl hero. Had some bad years with injuries. Does he come back to form? So now you've got Sanders is your one. He's not a workhorse. I love him to death, but he's not your workhorse back. Boston Scott, Corey Clement, and then what do you have after that? I mean, think about this. Knock on wood. Something happens to Miles Sanders. What do you have at running back? I love Boston Scott, but come on. They need a veteran They need a veteran running back to bring in there. However, we're talking about Adrian Killins. You've got him and Michael Warren, who again I did a video on him. Michael Warren, I love this dude. Hard hitting running back. Kind of is different than all the other running backs that we have. I really, really like him. It doesn't have that speed that Killins has. So they're not going to keep. They might keep 4 running backs. They're not going to keep 5. So maybe, and I'll tell you what, Killins makes it if he can catch punts. If he can, and I know he did it in college, but at this level, if he can play special teams with that speed, I don't know how they let that go and let him go somewhere else. They've done that. Raheem Mostert, they've done that. So, yeah, I really hope he does. I really hope he makes it because the guy is super fat. He's just really fast. And one of the things that killed me about this team last year, and probably killed you guys too, was the fact that we looked so slow. We were one of the slowest teams in the league. I mean, it was insane. It really was about how slow we were. But I do think, again, we talk about running backs. I do think they need a veteran running back to bring in there. I saw Shady went to Tampa Bay, and I'll be honest with you, I love Shady. I got his jersey. His legs are gone, guys. Yeah, I'm glad that we didn't get him. I really wanted Carlos Hyde. They went to Seattle. Devontae Freeman sitting out there. Now's the time to pounce on him because, again, you let go of – or something happens to Miles Sanders, you need somebody. And Freeman would fit well. I love that 3-headed monster. I mean, you remember back in the day, what was it? Deuce Buckhalter and then Westbrook, like his rookie year. I mean, that's a type. And our Super Bowl year, we had the perfect set of running backs. Think about that. Look, Garrett Blount had his own unique style of running people the hell over. Andrew Sandejo still has nightmares about that, which is why he sucked when he played with us last year. Corey Clement, who would have thought that he was able to catch the football? One of the things coming out of Wisconsin, was that he couldn't catch. And he had, again, a great catch in the Super Bowl and was a dynamic running back for us that year. And then Jay Ajayi, again, just absolute stud. Get me 3 different styles like that this year. Anyhow, any way you need to do it, and I'll be happy. I really will. But again, just so much talent, and they just have to pick the right guys. And that's why they revamped this coaching staff offensively. They brought in a bunch of different guys. They didn't just go with the traditional offensive coordinator. Thank goodness they got rid of Mike Rowe. again, I hate to talk ill of anybody, but man, this dude, we should have saw the writing on the wall when in 2018 they traded a third-round pick for Golden Tate, and Mike Gross says in a press conference, "Yeah, we just haven't figured out how to use him in this offense yet." What? What do you? First off, if that was really the case, why even say that? Just, I mean, say, "Hey, we're not going to show you guys our hands" or something. But boy. So yeah, thank goodness he's gone, and they've got some actual coaches in there. So we're at a little over an hour, guys. I think I'm gonna wind this thing down. Again, kind of a test run for me and StreamYard, the version that's not free. So again, I'm trying to rally to 1,000 subscribers, guys. And that's why I named it this. Again, I thank everybody that has subscribed. You guys are so awesome. People that let me run my mouth is great. I've always been comfortable with this in my hand or speaking into it. And before I go, King James, I think we will be a top run defense this season. I agree. Jim Schwartz knows quarterbacks are runners also. So having Slay helps us concentrate on stopping the run up front. Man, how could I forget to talk about Darius Slay? You are 100% right, King James. I mean, dude, I couldn't have said it better. Not only does he know that the quarterbacks are runners, but you look at the running backs in this division, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and then Darius Geis, if he stays healthy and becomes something of what the Washington team thought he was going to be. Having the line that we have, these guys, one of the things they're really good at is stopping that run. And yeah, having Slay helps them concentrate on stopping the run up front. And it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do on the other side of Slay. Again, this is going to be another hour conversation. My opinion is going to, I don't know if you guys have the same opinion, but I'm ready to give him one more shot. One more shot. And if he F's it up, I'll drive to Philly. He can get my car and I'll drive to the airport and he can go to another team. Sidney Jones. Look, it's different when you're at the games because watching the game at home, you see a couple plays that Sidney has, and you're like, man, this dude just doesn't have it. Like, man, he's getting burnt, blah, blah, blah. You're at the game, you actually watch him. Those last couple games that I went to, the Giant game, the Seahawk, and the Cowboy game, he played limited. And everybody remembers the Cowboy game. He had that huge stop there. I think give him another shot with Darius Slay. And look, here's that word again, the X factor of this defense, Marquand Manuel, I hope I'm saying that right, the new DB coach. This is a guy that coached Legion of Boom. He was the Falcons defensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl and blew it to the New England Patriots. But man, if he can get these guys right, which I think he can, Sidney Jones could be that player that we wanted him to be when they picked him in the second round. He really could. And the rest of this secondary, man, I call him the Swagadary because that was really bad. Forget that I said that. But Will Parks, love him. Jalen Mills, think it's going to be good. I'm optimistic, okay? But he played this position in college, was good at it. He played it during that Patriots game, was good at it there. Still working out with Malcolm Jenkins. I think Jalen Mills is going to be solid at that position. I told you I think Kevon Wallace is going to be great. One of the pickups that nobody talks about that I think is really awesome is Nickel Roby-Coleman. Also, kind of had a shout out for the channel. I think that they've got the pieces there, and I forgot to say Crevan LeBlanc and Avonte Maddox. They've got some good guys. They really do. It's just finding out where they go because a lot of these guys are slot corners. Man, if you get Darius Slay as a true number one corner that we haven't had since Asante Samuel, and then now you have Sidney Jones possibly playing to his potential. We've been fooled by him before. Again, he fools me this time, sending his ass to the airport. So look, guys, that's all I got for you guys, man. I started to lose my voice a little bit because I've been talking for an hour straight, and I've really enjoyed it, guys. Thank you, King James. Thank you, Stephen Jones or Stephen Joyce. I'm sorry, Stephen Jones. Why would I ever call you that? Why would I ever call you that? He's one of the worst. He's a cowboy. One of the worst GMs in the league right now. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Again, I'm probably gonna be back tomorrow. I really want to dig into this Washington name. It's a big issue, and it's in our division. We play in week 1. Really want to talk about that and dig into this 100 list again tomorrow. Thanks, King James. Really appreciate the awesome questions you've had. Really makes it easy to talk for this long when you and Stephen Joyce have been awesome. I know my kids are probably watching somewhere, but they're quiet, which means they're probably up to no good, which is why I got to end this broadcast. I am professional wrestler Chris Wilde. Stay safe, guys. Stay healthy. Go Birds. And I will see you guys later.